Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.wordpress.com. Thank you for joining me today, and I'm going to show you how to make a variation on this card today. This is my design team project for the Inspire.Create.Challenge. So the links to that will be in the description. So this time the theme is anything goes, so you can make absolutely anything you want to enter that challenge. Between now and a week Wednesday, I believe, and yeah, so this is what I decided to make, and it was kind of interesting because the brief was you could do whatever you want, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what do I do? So I just thought, right, I'm going to pull out this Delicate Petals bundle. I have used it before, but I wanted to explore some of the other elements in the bundle to make these nice lacy sort of petals. Okay, so this is Delicate Petals, really lovely set. This on its own, coloured, brilliant. This will make a great background, which I'm going to show you how you can do. Some really lovely sentiments, and then these elements for making some petals, so you can stamp the petals, and then you can also die cut them as well. So these shapes will die cut out the petals, but we've also got these lovely sort of embossed inserts, if you like, to go with it. Okay, so really nice set. I think it immediately looks a bit complicated, but actually it's quite nice to use. And of course, if you've got a stamping cut and emboss, that's even better, because the dies just work so brilliantly with it. So already done a bit of the prep because I want the focus to be on the sort of the technique of doing the stamping and building the flower. So I've actually made a 5.5-inch square card base. My matte and layers, I've actually switched out the black for some basic grey. Okay, so if you want measurements, the grey layer is 5 3/8, with the white layer being 5 1/8. Okay, so that's the card base. Okay, I've also done the sort of central panel already, the bit that we're going to layer on top, with the grey part being 4 and I'm going to do it on my grid paper. Yeah, 4 3/8 and 4 1/8 for the this is Coastal Cabana. So what I've got here is I've already die cut ahead these two elements. Not sure if we're going to use the white one, that wasn't used on the original, but I thought I might just see whether we want to add that in as another option, see how it looks. And then the smaller element is cut in Bermuda Bay, so I've already die cut those little bits. Just got a little 1/2-inch strip there to do our sentiment right at the end. And then this piece is actually 3 7/8 of an inch square. So if you want to make the maths a bit easier, then make that a 4-inch square and adjust your layers accordingly. In fact, you could probably get away with a 4-inch on there anyway. Okay, and all I've done is when I cut this, I just made a teeny tiny score mark, which you probably can't even see on the camera, but there's a little tiny score mark just denoting the central line there, just so I can put my first stamp in place straight, and the rest will follow. Okay, I haven't actually marked the centre though, which is probably what I should have done. So let me just do that, just so that I can mark the centre. So it's 3 7/8, so that's 2 minus a 16th, so that's there. So I'm just using my score blade just to sort of put a cross in the centre, so that I can see where that is. So it's there. It's going to be covered up, so you're not going to see it. But you just want to mark the centre, which will help you with the positioning of your of your stamps. Okay, and I'm going to use Bermuda Bay ink to do that. So we'll put that up there, out of the way. Now, if my alignment is a little off, it's because I'm trying to avoid getting the top of my head into your camera view. Just going to move that as far away as possible so I can keep it under the camera but as close to me as possible, so I can bring it down to about there. Okay, just so I can see over the top, so I can just see my score line coming up from the centre there. So my first stamp is actually going to go, it is a tighter fit, just about fits. So I'm lining up the point of that stamp and just eyeballing that leaf where that line is scored. Okay, so once you've put your first one in, the rest will kind of follow. So just turn your cardstock. In my case, I'm going to go anti-clockwise. I think probably if you're right-handed, you probably want to go the other way. Okay, so again, we're going to make sure our point meets in the centre, and we're going to just sort of look through the stamp to make sure that there is contact between these, this circle in particular. Okay, so line up your point, look over your stamp as far as you can, and when you think you're there, press it down. There we go. Alright, so those two have met. There is a contact point here as well, but if you line it up with that join and that join, you shouldn't go too far wrong. Okay, and then keep repeating that round. Look through your stamp. Okay, and then, so as you can see, there's three, so we've got a nice semicircle forming. Just take your time and just hover over the top. You can always cut down your paper afterwards if you feel this is a bit of a tight squeeze to get that in. So obviously with your last one, you've got 2 points of reference either side with these circles here. So again, just get over that as much as I can without getting in your way, and we'll put that in. Cool. Okay, it may not turn out perfect, so that's come out overlapped a little bit more, but you get the idea. A little bit of practice. So I did this a couple of times on some copy paper, just to sort of get familiar with the technique and how it looked, but I think that's turned out just grand. And also when we lay the petals on, you may want to, you'll probably have some flecks to try and mask any little imperfections as well. So that's our layer that's going to go on top of here. We may as well put that on. So that's going to go on top of this. Just going to use some seal for that. And then this is going to go onto the card with dimensionals, onto the card base. Okay, so we'll add some dimensionals to the back of that and get it on. Remember, don't put your dimensionals too close to the edge. They will show, well, they'll be more visible from the side if you put them too close to the edge, that's what I mean. Okay, so we'll get those off. Just like that, and get that positioned onto the card. If I'm going to put it that way because I think I'll stand more of a chance of covering that slight imperfection if I do it that way, because the way the petals will lie. you may want to add it on after you've decided how your flower's gonna, is that straight? Straight enough. But for the purposes of the demonstration, I think we'll do that right now so that we can then start building up our flower. Okay. What I've already done ahead of time is die cut 8 of the large petals in plain white cardstock as well. So we've already got those ready. My top tip would be to use a silicone mat to help you do some of this construction. So we're going to build up our base layer of petals, and to help me do that I actually cut some circles of cardstock with some punches. So whatever punches you've got to hand, the large one here is 1.5 and I've got 1 1/4, so if that's a guide for you and you've got something that will do that, then that's wonderful. Wet glue is your friend with this kind of thing because it will allow us to make sure the petals are in the correct place. So I'm just going to lay down some glue and we're just going to build up our petals, sort of doing north, south, east, west. Just making them join in the middle. Whoops. See, silicone mat, you see, if any glue squidges out behind there, it's not going to go onto your work surface. Okay. Oops. Okay. Then I sort of twizzle it round and do the same again. If you feel like you want some more glue in the centre, then add some. I say that a lot of that centre portion is going to be covered up, so you aren't going to see it. So again, top, bottom, left and right. Give those a press. Glue's not really where I want it, so I'll just move it. Okay, so you want to give that a really good firm press. Any excess glue is going to obviously dry clear, so we're not going to need to worry about that. Okay, so that needs to just set to one side while we do our next step. So I've already done half of the set of petals for the inner circle, okay, which we can, yeah, let's put the 4 in place, then I'll show you how I make the second 4, okay, and these can be drying. So again, I'm going to use my small piece of circular card and put my north, south, east, wests in. If you want to mark this out and have like a centre point to make it as even as you want, then go ahead and do it. The critical thing with this circle of card underneath, you just obviously you don't want it to show through your die cut. So when I tried this with my 1.5 inch circle, it appeared in that first opening there in the die cut. So I needed to make it smaller. Okay, so those 4 can just sort of sit and dry. See, wet glue is perfect for this, but it is, well, in my hands it's really messy. I don't know about you guys. I seem to just get in a mess with it. Okay, Coastal Cabana ink this time. And I'm going to bring in some Whisper White cardstock, basic white cardstock I should call it now actually. I have to get used to calling it that. I think it's because I'm still using up my Whisper White. That's what it is. So to get the, did you see that there was sort of a gradient on the petals, yeah? So I did that by actually putting some ink over my my cardstock, the edge of the cardstock, before I did any of the die cutting. So the tips of the petals will be coloured, but the sort of centres won't be, and you get this nice little gradient of colour. Doesn't matter if it's a bit patchy, they're going to look, if they look a bit different, that's all right. It's okay. So that's step one. Get your card coloured. You can obviously use the solid coloured card. It kind of depends on what look you're going for. But on this occasion, I wanted something a little bit more subtle. So I went with doing my blended edge there. So the dies are two parts, okay? You've got your insert and you've got your outer, okay? Now, if you're new to die cutting, I would really recommend doing your innie first, doing these ones first, and then coming back and cutting them out from the cardstock on a second pass. The one thing that will damage dies is if you die cut them, okay? If they overlap and they run through your machine overlapped, you will damage your dies, okay? So if you're at all unsure of getting that positioning correct, run it through once, just with your innie, leaving space. Obviously you've got to make sure you bring it far enough down so that you can then die cut around it afterwards. I'm going to take that over to this side, just where it's not quite so dark. Okay, so super careful, do not let your dies overlap, okay? I'm just going to take that through to the die cut machine and roll those through. Oh, just got my okay, so oh, I've lost oh, there they are. So look how beautifully those have come out. I've literally lifted the cardstock and they've just, you know, perfectly cut. Okay, and you can just lift those off with a pokey tool. Just come out, get those little bits out, and you've got your petals. Aren't they beautiful? So very easy just to remove that excess cardstock. It does not take a minute. Just with a pokey tool. It probably will come out with your fingers, to be fair, if you've got nails. If you haven't got nails, you might need something else. There we are. And all those little bits just go into the bin. You do want to make sure your die cutting plates are clean of any little pieces of card before you die cut again, because they'll sort of emboss onto your next project if you don't. Where did I put my glue? There it is. Okay, so we're just going to add some more. That's going to have started to go off, so I'm just adding a bit more to that. Obviously, if I'd have had all these ready, could have just gone straight ahead. So the inking on this is a little different to the first set of 4, because you never do it exactly the same twice. So I mean, it doesn't bother me. It's just I'm just making you aware of it, so that if you are doing this it's probably best to do your blending for all 8 petals in one sitting to get them more consistent, if that's the look that you're going for. So just giving all those a bit of a press. The glue doesn't take long to dry. And that's our second portion done. So we've now got a large flower and a smaller flower. Let's pick that up. And now we can adhere this over the top. Really using plenty of glue. We've got a lot of texture going on. So you want to make sure that glue's get in where it needs to go. So spacing's not perfect on some of these, but you know what? Nature isn't perfect either. Ooh, just had time to get that done before it really got tacky. There we are. So that's ready for the card, isn't it? Yes, that's right. Okay. So again, we'll put some glue down. And this is where if you've got any boo-boos you want to cover up, and that's going to cover that up beautifully. Press in the middle. So there's going to be quite a lot of bulk in that centre panel there where all those petals overlap, just so that you know. Not like terrible, it's just obviously not flat. Okay, and if you wanted to curl any of those petals, then you could do. I'd recommend letting that dry absolutely rock solid before you try and do that, otherwise you're going to start pulling it apart. Okay, we've got these couple of elements left. Now I want to decide whether I want this on or whether it's just a bridge too far. But actually, yeah, I quite like it actually. And then do I want them offset or not? Because these have only got 6 petals, whereas the thingies have got... I think I'm just going to go with the original design point and just do that with the dark card. It allows that sort of ombre thing that we did to shine through if we do that. I am putting a bit of shape onto this one though. Just think it will look nice. A bit of dimension. Okay, that's just going to take a moment to dry. So that point is in the centre there is actually quite raised with all those petals coming together in the middle. So we just want to make sure that that's stuck down. And there is just a speck of glue showing through, but we're just going to add a little speck of glue to the centre to help the little matte black dots to stick to that. Oops. Matte black dots. These are in the Love You Always suite of products, or you can get them separately of course if you don't want any of the other stuff in that suite. Just get the so there we go, there's our main focal point. We just need to add our sentiment. Let's put these away. So we're just going to use some black ink for our sentiment on our strip of cardstock. I'm going to cut this with the picker punch. This is the lovely Labels picker punch. So I'm just lining that up, making sure it's all nice and straight in the back of the punch. somewhere there, I think. So that gives us a nice edge on that. And we're just going to use this lovely little For You. Get that inked up and stamped. And then we can just trim that off to fit onto our card. So I'm going to take it to about there, I think. Put a dimensional behind the back of that, I think. That'll lift a petal as well. No, I haven't checked if that's going to stick out, have I? I like it to go over the coloured border so that it draws your eye towards it. A little bit of wet glue is going to help me slide that in and make sure it's in position. And we'll just, she says, dropping it down. Lift that up. Make sure it's straight. Ish. There we go. All done. Okay, so you can of course come in and lift up these petals. You could put dimensionals under them if you wanted to. So we could lift these a little bit with some, just with your fingers and whatever, if you wanted to. By no means have to, but it's just another option for you if you wanted to do that. Just use your fingers. There we have it. I like that colour combo actually. Don't use orange a lot. It's not really my flavour of colours, but that is very appealing to me. Hope you've enjoyed that. It's a little bit more involved, but I think you know, sometimes you want a really nice special card, and I think this is the kind of thing that counts as a special card in my opinion. As always, the products I've used are in the description bar below. Please do check that out, and check out that Inspire.Create.Challenge. You can create absolutely anything you want, upload your photo, and the design team will pick a winner when the next challenge launches in 2 weeks. So, hope you've enjoyed that. Please do stay safe. Take care everybody, and I'll see you soon.